Hey guys, this is a little clip I'm adding to the beginning of the video. You may hear a bunch of bonk, 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 bonk hammering noises and things like that throughout the video. There's construction, something going on in the apartment above me. Yeah, I don't have any control of it, so you'll hear that throughout the video. Howdy everybody. This is the kind of unofficially the second video of the campaigns and elections section series thing. The first video was on the primaries and caucuses, how we get a presidential candidate from each party. This is on the conventions themselves. Hopefully it'll be a little bit shorter, and I guess let's get to it. So if we all recall, of course, the primaries and caucuses that are held in each state throughout the country are held to get delegates. Each candidate campaigns in each state to try and win delegates from that state. Those delegates will go to the convention and vote for the presidential candidate. All right. So the Democratic and Republican National Convention is a meeting place of all the delegates that have been chosen or elected from all the states, and they're the ones tasked with electing the party's nominee for president. These conventions are today largely pre-planned political theater. Everything at these conventions are controlled, pre-planned to the very last minor detail, and there shouldn't be any surprises. The conventions themselves are a chance for each political party and each candidate to, let's say, control the media narrative for a week. Each convention goes generally from Monday to Thursday, and when the Democrats are having their convention, there is zero to practically zero news of the Republican Party or the Republican Party president, and it's vice versa when the Republican convention is going on. So it's a chance for each party to dominate the news cycle and hopefully get a little boost for their party. Generally, we find a couple of percentage point boost in the national polls after each party's convention. Whether or not that boost has any staying power is another matter. But we do see that a little bump up because the American people have been constantly exposed to, inundated with messages from that candidate and that political party on why they are the best thing on earth. Okay? Conventions have a lot of confetti, have a lot of balloons. There's a lot of pageantry, pomp, and circumstance. You will have, during a convention, a whole lineup of speakers from each political party give speeches on each night, and each night will have a keynote speaker, some big name that will try and draw people in to view the convention or whatever. Generally, each convention has some type of theme. All right, so in 2012, the Republicans' dominant theme was "We built it." It came off a line that Obama said during a speech. His line was, "You didn't build that. You didn't build that business," and blah, 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 whatever. He was making that comment in the larger speech context. Society helped provide an infrastructure for you to build the business. You know, you built the business, you just didn't do it by yourself, thus pay taxes, was the general message. Anyway, the Republicans decided to take exception to that and try and tap into America's sense and spirit of rugged individualism. We can make it on our own type thing, and They went with the campaign theme, "We built it." The Democrats went with the theme, generally of forward. Obama's been working hard, let's allow him to keep working hard. At the convention, theoretically, the delegates go to the convention to vote for the presidential candidate they were elected to represent. So, let's talk about in the last video, a candidate may win, let's say Obama won 171 votes in Texas, or 171 delegates in Texas, and Clinton won 270 delegates in Texas. When the delegates go to cast their vote for the presidential candidate, you should have 270 votes for Clinton and 171 votes for Barack Obama. However, today, part of the political theater of the convention is we already know ahead of time who got the presidential nominee. We know who won enough delegates to become the nominee. So everybody, all the states, whatever, all vote in unison for one candidate to demonstrate party loyalties. Let's say there are 4,000 Democratic delegates. In 2008, all 4,000 would have voted for Barack Obama to say, we're here, we support Obama, go team, go team, go team. The convention attendees holding up various signs, banners, things like that, getting out the party's message when maybe you wouldn't necessarily have had that in the past, because if you're going to the Democratic National Convention to decide who's going to be the party nominee, why would you bring all this extra crap with you? Well, you only would if you were playing to the cameras, right? To the TV cameras to get people excited about Obama or excited about Mitt Romney. The last speech generally of the convention is the party nominee for president, and that person at the end of their speech, there's fireworks or lots of confetti and balloons that fall from the ceiling, and it's all big woo stuff going on. One of the other big things about these conventions is they're a chance to introduce and sort of test out new and up-and-coming politicians. For example, in 2004, a rising star in the Democratic Party, Barack Obama, gave a speech about how we're not red states and blue states, we're the United States, blah, blah, blah. He gave that speech, and people are like, wow, this guy's got it. Whatever it is, he's got it, and people one day are going to vote for him to be president. Sure enough, 8 years later, he wins the presidential nomination. The other things conventions do is they're a chance, if needed, for the candidate to reinvent themselves. So before presidential convention, there's usually been at least 6 or 7 or 8 months of campaigning for the presidential nominee. Maybe that presidential nominee is seen to be out of touch with average Americans. That nominee is really, really rich, and they need to humanize themselves or something. The convention's a chance for that nominee to change the public perception of themselves. It's hard to work. It's hard for that to work, but sometimes it can happen. One of the more famous examples in recent history of this happening was Al Gore was seen as, in 2000, was seen as being a bit robotic, emotionless. He was America's school teacher, perhaps. And at the convention, when he was announced to come on stage and give his speech, he engaged in one of the most awkward kisses ever captured on television. It looked weird. He basically sucked his wife's face off. There are other fun events that have happened in conventions recently. Um, in 2012, Clint Eastwood was speaking at the Republican National Convention, and he gave an 11-minute rambling speech to an empty chair on the convention stage. It was very awkward, very strange, and it happened. So that was sad for the Republicans. In 2012, there was also a bit of controversy with the Democratic Party. This was kind of super awkward for them and amazing at the same time. When they were writing their party platform, they left out the sentence, God is what gives us all of our rights, something like that, blah, blah, blah. They also left out the statement that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel and will always be the capital of Israel and only the capital of Israel. Two things that are seen as being like, you just have to include this stuff as part of the political niceties, whatever. There was a bit of an uproar for a day when people realized that the Democrats left it out. The Republicans were hammering them for it. So the Democrats decided to try and fix it by amending the platform with a yay or nay vote by all the delegates at the convention. During this process, the Democratic leader who was calling the vote could just call a yay, nay vote. So the person would say, do we amend the platform to include this sentence and this statement? People would say yay, some people would say nay, and then we decide if it passed or not. In order for it to pass, it would need 2/3 yay votes against the nays. When the Democratic chairperson called that vote, the yays and the nays amongst the convention goers were very much divided. So very clearly you didn't have the 2/3 majority needed. He called for it a second time. Again, yays and nays were roughly equal. The woman who was standing behind him says, listen, sometimes you just gotta tell the people what they're gonna do. So he says, when this clearly is not going the way they want it to, alright, we'll do this a third time. Again, about half the people voted yay, half the people voted nay, and he goes, the motion's passed. It was so awkward and weird, and some of the people at the convention, the delegates, started booing and hissing, and they were upset. This led to some pretty awesome internet memes, including one that said, Dems boo God, because they booed the idea that God would be in the Democratic Party platform. It was awesome. The one last thing I want to mention here is sort of a lesson on don't be gullible about what you see or read on the internet. There is an image going around of a photo taken at the Republican National Convention. The theme there was "We Built It." There was also a U.S. national debt sort of clock at the convention, and it showed the U.S. national debt increasing, every minute of the day. However, one of the Republican "We Built It" banners was directly below the U.S. national debt clock, and somebody snapped a picture of it and said, haha, isn't this funny? Republican presidents are responsible for most of the national debt. They run larger budget deficits, and see, look here, there's a sort of ironic, maybe Freudian slip about the Republicans saying that they really did build the national debt. The thing I want everybody to remember is that there's this thing called Photoshop. It exists, and it allows people to manipulate images to show whatever they want an image to show, and it's really easy to take a bottom half of one image and a top half of another image and sort of splice them together to create a picture that fits your particular political narrative, even though that image is not real. It was photoshopped. So I think we can all agree that Barack Obama rides a lion while holding a crossbow and a lightsaber. Have a good day, and I'll see you again on the interweb.